Hello, my friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we are talking about time clauses. Yes, it's grammar, my friends. I love grammar, and you love grammar too. I have some very important information to tell you about grammar. Grammar can save your life. Yes, correct punctuation and grammar can save a person's life. For example, let's eat grandpa. No, that's very bad. Don't eat grandpa. Let's eat, comma, grandpa. Let's eat, comma, grandpa. It's lunch. Come on, my friend. Yes, correct punctuation and grammar can save a person's life. So let's do it, my friends. Let's start today. Time clauses. Time clauses act as adverbs, meaning the entire clause modifies an adjective, verb, or other adverb. They start with a time adverb, before, when, after, etc. And time clauses are dependent clauses, which means they can't stand alone. They are not independent sentences. For example, before he goes to work, he eats breakfast. Before he goes to work is the time clause. Before he goes to work is modifying when he eats breakfast. It starts with a time adverb, before, and it is a dependent clause. It can't stand alone. It is not a sentence. All right, reduced time clauses. Time clauses can be reduced when they have the same subject as the principal clause and start with before, after, and while. For example, before he goes to work, he eats breakfast. Here, this sentence, this time clause, starts with before. The subject of the time clause is he. The subject of the main clause, the principal clause, is he. So, we can reduce the time clause. How do we reduce the time clause? We remove the subject. Before he goes to work is now before going to work. Before going to work, he eats breakfast. Now, this is okay, and this is okay. No problem, my friends. Both ways are okay. All right. After he eats breakfast, he leaves his house. Okay. The time clause starts with after, and the time clause has the same subject as the main clause, the principal clause. So we can reduce the time clause. After eating breakfast, he leaves his house. This way is okay, and this way is okay. Here, while he goes to work, he listens to the radio. Here, the time clause starts with while, and the time clause has the same subject, he, as the main clause, the principal clause, he. So again, we can reduce the time clause. We can remove the subject, he. While going to work, he listens to the radio. This way is okay while he goes to work, or this way is okay while going to work. All right, other time clauses. Time clauses with these adverbs cannot be reduced. Ever since, as soon as, whenever, from the moment, as, the first, the next, the last time, until or till, once or every time. Time clauses with these adverbs can't be reduced. For example, every time he eats breakfast, he reads the news. Here we cannot reduce the time clause. We cannot remove the subject. Here, from the moment he eats breakfast, he's happy. Again, we cannot reduce the time clause. We cannot remove the subject. All right, ever since. Ever since we use for something that started in the past and continues to now. In Portuguese, ever since is desde que. For example, ever since I first visited Brazil in 2009, I loved Corinthians. Ever since. Go Corinthians! Yeah! The big team. as soon as or once. This means at the moment when. For example, once the pandemic ends, I'm going to eat at Pizza Movie. It's very true. I love pizzerias, and I love Pizza Movie in Prudente. Until or till. This means to a specific moment. For example, I'm going to play basketball till I die. Now, you are probably familiar with until, but maybe you never have heard of till. These are both the same. You can use until or till, no problem. This example is a little morbid, but it's true. All right, whenever. Whenever means at any time or every time. For example, whenever I eat food with garlic, my breath smells. True story. Whenever. As. As means at the same time. As can have different meanings, but in time clauses, as means at the same time. For example, some people like to watch TV as they eat dinner. As. Right and before and after. Right with before and after is a synonym with immediately. For example, right before I go to bed, I brush my teeth. This is the same as saying immediately before I go to bed, I brush my teeth. All right, time clauses and commas. Use a comma when the time clause is before the principal clause. Don't use a comma when the time clause is after the principal clause. For example, till I die, comma, I will play basketball. Here, the time clause is before the principal clause, the main clause. So we use the comma to separate. Here, I will play basketball till I die. Here, the time clause is after the main clause, the principal clause. So no comma, my friends. Okay, up next, vocabulary.